How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On the Ball. Welcome back to another Premier League review show, which is the review of every single Premier League game, every single ball that is kicked in the Premier League as well. We have our predictions and our scores for our predictions, as you can see on the top of the screen, 262 to 252. And the way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's get into the weekend's action. Was the second half of the winter breaks. Only 5 games to talk about. We're starting off at the Emirates, a 5-0 battering at the hands of Arsenal for Crystal Palace. Sim went for 2-1. I went for 1-0, but it was way more convincing than that. I mean, Arsenal just absolutely battered them, didn't they? I mean, Crystal Palace pretty much didn't turn up. It was a very insipid Crystal Palace display. They didn't really put their foot in as they usually do, and I think they made it easy for Arsenal.
Yeah, very easy. Obviously, the first 2 goals come from set pieces. Gabriel getting on the end of 2 corners. The second one being given as an own goal. But I thought Arsenal, I wouldn't say was struggling, but it wasn't their most impressive display up until those 2 goals from corners. I thought Eze was actually buzzing around and causing a lot of problems. He forced a few saves out of Raya throughout the 90 minutes. But apart from Eze, there was literally no quality at all coming from Crystal Palace. Nothing to suggest they could hurt Arsenal. And then Arsenal get a third on the breakaway from a corner. Really good throw out from David Raya. He quickly plays it to, I think it was Saka who played it to Trossard and makes it 3-0. And then they got 2 goals, I think, in stoppage time from Gabriel Martinelli, 2 carbon copy finishes that made it 5-0 at the end of the day. I do think 5-0 slightly flattered them, but they were very dominant. I think they definitely deserved to win convincingly. It wasn't quite a 5-0 game, I felt, but it was definitely a convincing win for Arsenal. And maybe are they getting back on form now? That's the question.
Yeah, I question it, to be honest. I do think Crystal Palace just kind of gave it to them, to be honest. But at the end of the game, the 2 goals from Martinelli, that's Martinelli. Is that playing him back into form? Because he's had a dreadful season so far.
Yeah, 100%. And those are 2 clinical finishes, 2 finishes that he was doing very regularly last season. 15 league goals last season. There was, Henry-esque kind of finishes, just guiding them into the far corner.
Not so far.
No, I'm just saying the way Henry used to guide them into the far corner like he did. So we know Martinelli is definitely capable of that. For one reason or another, he just hasn't been involved this season, but maybe that's a shot in the arm he needs. But yeah. I don't even know if he's going to start next game because Trossard got on the score sheet as well. So does he keep his place? I think there's a good chance.
Yeah, he's kind of gone from Jeremy Aliadier finishes to Thierry Henry finishes this season. But look, it's early days in terms of talking about a Martinelli comeback. It was 2 goals against a well-beaten Palace side with a few kids on the pitch as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Arsenal got a nice week break now, seeing as they're not in the FA Cup, and they face Nottingham Forest away next week, which will be a tough game for them, to be honest, at the City Ground.
Yeah, and from a Palace point of view, though, there were banners in the away end calling out the board. Hodgson coming under increased pressure. If you're looking at the league table, I know right now then they're 15th, but Luton in 18th, 5 points behind with the game in hand. Are they in serious trouble of getting sucked into it?
They are in trouble. 100% they're in trouble. And I was saying a month or so ago, they'll finish mid-table, standard Crystal Palace, but they are letting their standards drop. They're letting themselves slip down the table. And when you've got the likes of Burnley, Luton, Everton and Forest all capable of getting a result on their day, it is troubles. Signs of trouble there for Palace.
Feels like whenever they're missing one of Eze or Elise, they just got nothing. Because when they got them together, it's like a dual threat. It's hard to cope with. But when one of them's missing, it's like you mark Eze out of the game and that's it. Then you won the game pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it
feels like. So I think Hodgson, they got to think about sacking him. I really do.
And it's weird, isn't it, with the board, because it seemed as though they were onto such a good thing with Patrick Vieira. They changed the way they were playing. They were playing good football. And then at the first sign of trouble under the Vieira, they sacked him, reverted back to Hodgson, and now they're battling relegation again.
Yep, and no one's happy as well. The football they're playing is terrible. When they go to a place like Arsenal, they've got no ambition to try and get a result. They haven't replaced Zaha as well. So, I mean, they are in big trouble, absolutely. And if I was a Palace fan, I'd be very worried unless Hodgson gets sacked. I would sack him. I really would. I don't think there's any point keeping him on at this point.
Well, Cooper's out of a job now, so why not? Let's copper up. Both of them, I think, would be a massive upgrade on Roy Hodgson. Let's be honest.
A lot of Palace fans are calling for Mourinho.
Mourinho. Can you imagine?
That would be unbelievable.
Let's move on to Brentford against Nottingham Forest. A really good game here at the Brentford Community Stadium. Finished 3-2 in Ivan Toney's return. Sim went for 2-1 to Forest. I went for 2-2. I was very close to the 2-2, but it wasn't to be. And what a game this was. It was the talking point of the game was that Ivan Toney free kick. I'm not sure why people are making such a big deal out of it, but as the Wolves' back was turned, he kind of just edged the ball slightly over to the right to give himself that angle, and he finished it.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of gamesmanship. Yes, it's a bit sneaky. Yes, it's I don't know if you can call it cheating or not, but I think as a Premier League player, your job is to get any sort of advantage you get, as long as it's not getting called by the referee. Yeah, maybe it is equivalent to like a dive or something, or maybe a foul, which the referee doesn't see. And if you're an opposition fan, you're not going to like it. But if he's your player, you're going to love it, and you're going to think it's a smart piece of play from Ivan Toney. Even to move the foam as well was very sneaky. It did examine that little movement was exactly what gave him the goal as well, because the free kick went round the wall. I don't have a massive problem with it. Obviously, if I was a Forest fan, I would be frustrated and angry. But I also think if you're a Forest fan, you've got to be annoyed with your defenders and your goalkeeper for not seeing it. And also, before the free kick is taken, you've got to make sure your angles are right. And he doesn't have that space to go around the wall. And I think you have to blame Matt Turner for it. Even though Toney moved the ball, Matt Turner has to be checking his angle to make sure there's no space there, and he didn't do it. And so Toney took advantage of that. I thought he actually had a really good return.
Unreal. I thought he was the
really
best player on the pitch by far. The way he was dropping deep, knitting the play together, his hold-up play, his link-up play. I thought everything was absolutely spot on from Ivan Toney, to be honest.
Yeah, and I thought but Brentford did deserve the win. I think Forest obviously took the lead. Great goal, I think it was from Danilo, I think it was. Danilo. Really great goal from 25 yards. And obviously Toney equalised. Then they took the lead. I think it was Ben Mee with the header. Chris Wood then equalises, I thought, against run and play personally. And then they ended up getting the winner, which I thought they deserved. They were the better team. I thought Forest were kind of hitting them on the counter against run of play. I think Brentford didn't deserve to concede at the times they did. I thought Brentford were the better team, and I thought they got their just rewards. And maybe this Toney result is a shot on the arm they need to restart their season, because they've really been struggling. I think this win comes off the back of 5 consecutive defeats for Brentford, and we know they're a good team. We know Thomas Frank's a very good manager. He has them playing the way they play will be good enough to keep them in the league, but they've been seriously missing no Mbeumo, no Toney. They've had no firepower, so having Toney back in the team is a welcome return.
I've never seen something like it though. Like Ivan Toney's just been out for however many months. 8 months, is it? 9 months?
Yeah, since like April?
He got banned for these betting charges, and whether you agree with it or not, he was banned because he broke the rules, right? I've never seen such a hero's welcome. I get it from the Brentford fans, but like all the media and Sky Sports, they're all making out like this miraculous return for the hero that is Ivan Toney, where you've got players like Christian Eriksen who came back after like a heart attack and stuff like that. And like there was nowhere near the same kind of narrative of Eriksen coming back than someone like Ivan Toney. I thought it was a bit strange.
Yeah, I guess it's just because of how good he's been. I mean, you can't put your finger on it. Maybe people feel like he was harshly treated because of his gambling addiction and things like that. But I agree. I think he did break the gambling rules. He was rightly banned, and I like Toney himself seems to have this victim narrative, like I'm going to prove the haters wrong. It's like
you broke the rules, you got banned,
gambling.
And that was it. Like I don't understand.
It's been very, very strange to have this like narrative about yourself that there's haters and like people don't believe in. It's like everyone knows you're a great player. Like you're the one who made the bets. I don't understand who the haters are. There's no haters. Everyone thinks he's going to come back and be good. Like I don't know what he was trying to prove, but like fair enough. He's a good player, and he proved it again. I don't think he's going to get a move in January, but
he'll get it in the summer.
Yeah, in the summer for sure. But it's also very weird. Like he said a week before he's returning, he said. I'm going to stay at Brentford because of the support they showed me, and I want to end the season with them and keep them up. And then he's saying, "Oh, but." If a bid comes in January from a big team, who knows? Obviously, everyone knows I want to play for a big team. It's like quite disrespectful. I thought some of the comments he was making.
He's been This is not the first time he's been disrespectful. There was that video circulating over social media, wasn't there, a few years ago?
F Brentford,
when he said F Brentford into the camera when he was trying to chat up a girl or whatever. he's a weird guy, Ivan Toney. Like, he really is. Like, I say how it is. Like, he needs to have a bit of decorum in the way he talks about his team that he's been with for so long. Like, he needs to show a bit more respect. Like, there's like thinking to yourself, like, if a bid comes in, then I'll go. But why say it like into the media? Like, everyone knows that if a bid comes in, you'll go. Like, you don't need to go talking about it in interviews.
Yeah, if I was a Brentford fan, that would annoy me. But then again, he's banging the goals for them, so can they complain?
Yeah. Let's go to the next game. Sheffield United against West Ham at Bramall Lane. 2-2 it finished on the day. Both of us gone for 1-0 to Sheffield United. Really good game of football, this one. Not the highest quality game, but like a very exciting game to watch, and marred by a couple of refereeing decisions, which right at the end of the game that didn't sit right with me. I thought that one right at the end, the penalty that was given was a bit harsh, to be honest. The keeper does come flying out, but I don't know. He was going for the ball. The ball kind of had already gone and it hits the player, and the ref points straight to the spot. And then straight away, Jarrod Bowen, what the hell was that about? That penalty shout. He gets rugby tackled in the box, and then the ref gives a handball the other way. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, the game really did spark into life late in the game, didn't it? Because it was 1-1. Diaz got a goal in his debut. West Ham had taken a lead earlier in the game through TONEY, and I looked like it was. I thought, well, actually, Sheffield United. I know going late in the game, Ward-Prowse got a penalty and they were 2-up, and it looked like they were going to lose. But I actually thought Sheffield United played quite well throughout the game, and they were probably unlucky to be losing when they did concede. Brewster then gets sent off with a terrible challenge. VAR very 100% right to get involved in that. Terrible challenge, and then it was very easy at that point for West Ham. It looked like they were going to make it 3-1, but they missed a host of chances. Danny Ings had a couple of chances as well. Ward-Prowse had a chance to seal it. They didn't take their chances. And then Soufal ends up getting sent off with a late challenge on, I think it was Archer. And
like
then
2 yellow cards in the space of like 2 minutes.
Yeah, which was madness. And all of a sudden they leveled the playing field for the last minute, and that was in the 96th minute, so of 6 minutes added on. So it looked like even though they got a red, it was not going to affect the game. But from that free kick they got the penalty, which I completely agree. I think McBurney actually fouls Areola. Looking back at it, Areola does come flying out, and he doesn't get near the ball, but as you can see, before he makes contact with McBurney elbows him in the face.
And he gets injured through it and has to go off.
Yeah, when Fabianski's forced to come on to face the penalty. So I thought West Ham definitely got robbed with that one. I don't think it was a penalty. Very unlucky. The one at the end, though, I initially thought was a stonewaller on Bowen, but I have seen another angle of that challenge, and there is another angle to suggest that Bowen's also grappling with him, and he does have his arms around him. Definitely the Sheffield United defender, I think it's Amduzovic, I think his name is. He definitely has 2 arms on Bowen, but Bowen actually, there's one angle, it looks like it's just Amduzovic dragging him down, but I saw another angle from behind, and you can see Bowen has another arm around him as well, dragging him back. So I still think on reflection probably was a penalty to West Ham, but I can see why VAR decided it was kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I think it was probably more a foul on Bowen than it was a foul on 100%. Amduzovic, but there was probably just enough evidence to suggest that there was grappling on both sides.
100%. I think it was a stonewall penalty, to be honest. It looked like a rugby tackle to me. I haven't seen that angle that you're talking about, so maybe I should see it before commenting. But from what I've seen, it looks like an absolute stonewall penalty and another absolute mess up by the referees in another game. So, look, I think 2-2 was probably a fair scoreline on reflection of the game. But West Ham probably disappointed that they didn't go to Bramall Lane and take all 3 points. But
missed a big chance to go 3 points behind Spurs as well. And
on Danny Ings, I actually think it was probably one of his best displays in the West Ham shirt, albeit not the greatest display.
It was very weird, actually, when he went off. He went off as a sub, and he looked absolutely distraught. He was looked like a broken man when he was going off, because he had chances to score. especially at 2-1. And ended up not scoring, and then obviously they ended up finishing 2-2. And I don't know if it really affected him or not, the fact that he didn't put those chances away, but he just seems like a striker proper devoid of confidence right now. And I agree, it was one of his better displays, but he looked absolutely distraught going off the pitch.
And obviously Ben Berrington beat Diaz as well, scoring on his debut. Probably should have had another one as well, to be fair, with that one-on-one that he missed. But he's a striker that was smashing up in the Championship, was it a couple of years ago? Got his move to Villarreal, I think it was, and he went 30 games without scoring a goal for Villarreal, and then he gets a goal on his debut, so credit to him. Next up, we go to Bournemouth against Liverpool. 4-0 to Liverpool on the night. Sim went for 2-1, as did I, and Liverpool were probably the better side in the first half, but it did go 0-0 into half-time, and you're thinking, all right, are Bournemouth going to nick something in this game? But Liverpool came out with fire in their bellies, and the way they just absolutely swatted Bournemouth aside in that second half. 2 goals from Núñez, 2 goals from Jota, and those finishes from Diogo Jota were absolutely sublime. And I tell you what, that is a second half performance of a team saying, look, we're here to challenge City, we're here top of the league, and we're going to last the distance.
Yeah, no Salah, no Trent, and they end up going to a very informed Bournemouth away from home in a tricky game, and absolutely romping it 4-0 and deserving it as well. I thought first half it was very even. I actually think Liverpool, I wouldn't say we're lucky to go in at 0-0, but they didn't do much in that first half. They didn't create too many chances. Bournemouth were kind of in the ascendancy a bit, and it looked like they might have been taking the lead. But again, I thought Liverpool did really well to keep them at bay.
Bournemouth couldn't really create a chance either.
But I think it's very similar.
I thought Solanke was pretty anonymous.
If you remember the Spurs game, I thought it was quite similar in the sense that Bournemouth had their moments on top, but because of the intense way they play, and they play with the high pressing, they put a lot of energy into the game. Once they started to tire, the gap started to open up for Liverpool, and all of a sudden it was very easy for Liverpool to get in. And I feel like it's very similar to when they came to the Tottenham Stadium. They played really well, and then once they started to tire, Tottenham started to exploit the space as they were leaving, and they ended up winning the game.
I felt like for Bournemouth, like the only person that looked dangerous at all was Marcus Tavernier. Like, apart from that, they didn't really have much.
Yeah, they struggled to really show their quality. Sinistera wasn't getting involved. I think you'll give credit to Liverpool. I thought they just shut them out, and they suffocated them. And they're so quick and direct in the attack, and so incisive. And they showed their different ways of attacking as well. The fourth goal came from a cross from Joe Gomez, which Núñez gets in the end of. The first goal, very quick attack, just quick interchanges into Jota, into Núñez, one-time finish. The third goal was a counter-attack, which Núñez leads and just plays it into Jota's path, and he has a first-time finish. And I thought that they played really, really well in that second half, and showed why a lot of them are tipping them in the title race at the moment, and they're now 5 points clear at the top. And the one player I want to really talk about, actually, I've watched him a couple of times now, he's really impressed me, is their right back, Conor Bradley. He looks like a real talent. And if they're looking for a right back maybe to fill in there and putting Trent in midfield, they might have found one there, because I've watched him start 2 games, the semi-final of the League Cup against Fulham and yesterday, and I thought he was brilliant. And I actually think he's got quality. What I was really impressed about him, obviously he's a young player, academy player coming through, and they're always going to give 100%, but he seems to have quality on the ball. He seems to have a really good passing range, and I see him knitting the player together, doing passing and moving 1-2s, and I'm like, this guy has got a good footballing IQ, and he's got a good ability on the ball as well. And I think he ended up getting an assist on the day. I thought he was brilliant in the League Cup game against Fulham as well. So I think they might have found their next player here in Conor Bradley. I know it's early days, only 2 games, but I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, I agree. He always finds himself in really good spaces, doesn't he, high up the pitch? And like you said, got quality. I feel like he is a bit raw still, being a young player and all, but definitely signs of things to come for Conor Bradley. And I would say that Ibrahima Konate as well has really announced himself into this season. I think him and Virgil van Dijk have announced themselves as the best partnership in the Premier League at the moment. And nothing can get past them at the moment, Konate and Van Dijk. And Matip is going to have a real big task on his hands to get back into this side, isn't he?
I 100% agree. But do you still think Man City are going to walk the league?
I think, yeah, I do actually. I think Liverpool will have their sticky periods and drop points. I just feel like Man City are going to be that good from now to the end of the season.
You see, I actually disagree. I tell you why I disagree. I think Liverpool have had their sticky periods. They've had periods where they haven't been playing well, and they've had the same periods. But what's been happening in those periods is they keep getting over the line. They keep getting the results. They keep coming up with last-minute goals, even when they're not playing well. And I actually think they're going to get better now from now to the end of the season.
Depends how long Salah's out for as well.
Well, they're saying he could be back if Egypt make the final. They're saying about a month. But look,
there was new news about him yesterday that it might be worse than first feared.
Yeah,
though.
they first thought it was 2 weeks, and now they're saying about a month.
Right.
But look at their options even without Salah. They had the front three yesterday: Diaz, Jota, Nunes.
I think it will catch up to them at some point.
With Gakpo on the bench as well. They got depth. They got good quality depth there.
It will catch up with them because this weekend with Darwin Nunes, he scored 2 goals, but that was kind of a really good performance for him. Like, you're going to go through these performances with Darwin Nunes where he just can't hit a barn door. Diogo Jota is playing really well. So look, they do have great strength in depth, but I just feel like Man City are just so much stronger.
I don't know. I'm looking at Liverpool and I'm thinking they've only lost 1 game so far this season. Even in I don't even think they were playing at their best first half of the season. I see them coming into their own now. They still got Salah and Trent to come back. Trent apparently could be back for the weekend. They've got, yesterday in midfield they had Elliott and Curtis Jones in midfield. No Szoboszlai, no Endo, Gravenberch not there. They're showing everyone their depth at the moment, and they're coming up with big wins against an informed Bournemouth side. Currently 5 points cleared out at the top are Liverpool. So I think they're going to take City all the way. I really do.
And I think this game in a couple of weeks' time, 2-3 weeks' time at the Emirates is a massive game for Liverpool. If they go to the Emirates and take 3 points, then I think I'll start to come over to your way of thinking. But if they lose or drop points, then I think, that will knock them a bit, and Man City might run away with it. So I think that's a massive game in terms of the title race.
I agree.
Let's go on to the last game of the weekend, Brighton against Wolves. It finished 0-0, both of us going for 1-1, so we both get a point on the board for this one. I mean, Brighton literally just dominated this game from start to finish, just couldn't find the back of the net. Pedro Neto was playing well in his first start, and they had a few moments on the counter-attack, but Brighton will be desperately, concerned why they couldn't get a goal in this game.
Yeah, all the possession, but for very few chances. I think even Wolves had the better XG overall, even though Brighton had the ball for literally like 80% of the game.
Slightly, yeah. 72% possession.
Yeah, they literally had all the play, and Wolves had to make the best of when they did have the ball. And to be fair, if I remember rightly, the best chance of the game probably did fall to Wolves when Neto plays Cunha through. The keeper comes flying out, and Cunha's touch is just too heavy. Takes him way too far out wide, and unfortunately, the angle's too tight, and the shot goes wide. Cunha also forced to save out a steal throughout the game as well. Brighton, though, I felt like with all the play Brighton had, they never really scoring. They never really troubled Wolves. I thought Wolves looked fairly comfortable. They defended really well, and again, credit to Gary O'Neill for having them so well organised, so well drilled. In that back 5 system, I think Brighton were prodding and probing, but couldn't really force the issue. Couldn't even get many shots for Sarr to save even, I felt. It was very much Wolves finding it easy to keep them at bay, but I felt like Wolves struggled to retain possession, struggled to really get into Brighton's half, apart from a couple of occasions. When they did get in their half, they did cause trouble, but it was few and far between. That was a consequence of Brighton just being so good at keeping the ball. But I think 0-0, I thought was probably a fair result on the end of the day, and both teams probably be disappointed.
Billy Gilmore, he's a player that's announcing himself into the season now. I think he's playing really well when you're seeing the consistent minutes behind his belt in a Brighton shirt.
I think he's been their player of the season.
Yeah, I agree. And what I don't understand with Brighton, why do they keep persisting with Danny Welbeck up front when they've got Evan Ferguson on the bench? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I find it odd as well, considering he started the season so well. And I don't know how many goals Welbeck has this season, maybe 1 or 2, but
Ferguson has had 6 or 7 goals this season. He's been on the bench for the majority of it.
Yeah, I guess sometimes when you're 18, maybe he feels like he has to manage him, but I don't understand why. I think he should be starting definitely every game if he's fit. he's much better than Welbeck in terms of quality, especially when they get the ball in the box. Like Ferguson's a bit of a killer. He's so strong, whereas Welbeck is so wasteful. I guess the only thing in Welbeck's favour, obviously, is physicality. He can like run in behind. He stretches oppositions, but I don't know.
I think Ferguson can do that too, though. He's also quite a physical player for the age.
He's physical, but I don't think he's as pacey at the moment anyway as Welbeck. But I don't know. I feel like Welbeck's a bit more of a nuisance, like in terms of like he just gets in your face. He charges you down pressing wise. Ferguson maybe is a bit more like off the ball. Doesn't do those off the ball running. Maybe Welbeck does, but obviously Ferguson, if he gets a chance, you're going to back him to score. When Welbeck, you're not.
You know, that Brighton display yesterday reminded me. Actually, it didn't, because they didn't create too many chances. But I was going to say, like, the Brighton of Graham Potter, where they used to just dominate games and just couldn't hit the barn door, just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. It did remind me of that a bit yesterday, with a few less chances, to be fair. But let's move on to the Star men. It was a head-to-head in the Nottingham Forest-Brentford game. Sim went for Anthony Elanga. I told you he was injured, didn't want to believe me. And I went for TONEY, who got a goal with that free kick. So I take 5 points here, and we end the week with 5 points difference.
Yep, I'm still 5 ahead, so maybe next week I won't pick an injured player, and that will help.
Well, there you have it. That is the weekend's review. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the weekend's Premier League action, and we'll see you next time.